Obviously, it goes without saying, it has to be fought. We can't let it go on. We got to do whatever we can to punish those who do it, to discourage those who are thinking of doing it, and to holding the police and the government responsible to make sure that crimes are not committed. But we are not the police. What do we do? Firstly, how do we understand what's going on? Anti-Semitism is the oldest truth in the world. It is so predictable. It's so reliable. There's never been a time when there weren't anti-Semites. It's amazing. The attack in New Jersey, afterwards they were interviewing people who lived there in the neighborhood. And some of them said, before the Jews moved in here, this never happened. You see how anti-Semitism works? So that there's two Jewish men walking down the street, and they walk past a church, and they see a sign, "Convert today, $100." One of them says, $100? I'm going to do it. The other one says, don't be crazy. What, are you going to become a Christian? He says, $100. It's okay. You go. I'm not going. I'll wait for you. One of them goes inside. He's there for about an hour. He comes out. $100. I'm sorry. He comes out and he says, I did it. I did it. I became a Christian. So his friend says, did they give you the $100? He says, you Jews, all you ever think about is money. Instant anti-Semitism. What exactly is anti-Semitism? What is it? It's so strange. Purim is coming up soon. Perfect example of anti-Semitism. There was Haman and there was Achashverosh. Haman comes to Achashverosh and he says, I want to get rid of the Jews. I'll give you 10,000 pieces of silver. Let me do it. Achashverosh says, you don't have to pay me. Go do it. Two forms of anti-Semitism. And the Gemara gives the example. There's a man who has in his field that he has to plow, there's a pit. You have to plow around it, not comfortable. Another farmer, in the middle of his field, there's a hill, also harder to plow. The man who has the pit, the hole, comes to the other farmer, and he says, I need some soil to fill the hole. Can I buy some soil from you? And the other farmer says, you don't have to buy it. I have a hill that I would like to get rid of. Take it for free. Haman is the type of anti-Semite who feels a hole, an emptiness. Achashverosh is the type who feels that there's something in his field that doesn't belong to him. Makes him uncomfortable. There are anti-Semites who suffer from a feeling of emptiness. They look at the Jew and they say, it's your fault. There's another kind of anti-Semitism where the Jew just doesn't fit into his plan, doesn't fit into his picture of life, of his country, of reality. Who is more dangerous, Haman or Achashverosh? It seems like Haman is the more aggressive one. But if Haman can fill his empty feeling, he would stop being an anti-Semite. Achashverosh doesn't seem to be so aggressive, but he's more dangerous. Because he can be an anti-Semite even after the hill is gone. He switches. He's unreliable, can't be trusted. Chassidus tells us that there are two kinds of darkness. There's the darkness like the plague in Egypt that we're reading about, where the darkness you could actually feel. It feels like darkness. It's a thick evil, a powerful evil, and you have to fight it. You have to fight it. The rabbi said that the Rebbe's approach is that we fight darkness with light. This has not always been the case. For most of our history, think for a minute, how did we fight darkness? Did we fight darkness? What's been the traditional, typical Jewish reaction to anti-Semitism? There were occasions when we simply picked up our weapons and went to war, like Hanukkah. The Maccabees went to war against the evil of the Greeks, the Assyrians. Even in our time, under the communists, the previous Rebbe declared war. He didn't use guns, but he declared war against communism. He didn't try to escape Russia. He wanted to destroy the atheism and the evil called communism. It was a thick, dark plague of darkness like in Egypt, and you have to fight it. And in that fight, every Chabad family lost a husband, a father, a son. But we won. You know that Yiddishkeit is alive and well everywhere in the former Soviet Union. You have to fight, even at a steep cost. The Rebbe says, we fight darkness with light. We didn't do that with communism. We sacrificed. They closed a mikveh, we built another one. They killed the teacher, we found another teacher. I don't know if you know about this, but in all the underground yeshivas that Chabad had, only single men were allowed to teach there, because the chances of their getting killed was very big, and they didn't want to destroy a whole family. That was a fight. The other traditional response, the more common traditional response was, don't antagonize. Shah, mach nicht kein Tummel. Don't be too obvious, don't be too noticeable. Stay in the shadows, don't draw attention, low profile. The Poritz tells you to jump, you jump. Don't make trouble. Like the two Jews who were captured by the enemy, and they were standing in front of a firing squad. And one of them shouted, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And the other one said, Shah, you'll get us in trouble. That was the traditional response. And it was sensible and it was reasonable. When you can't fight, you try something else. So we played along. We try to make nice. That was the traditional response. The Rebbe says, our response to darkness is more light. Here's what changed. There is a darkness that needs to be destroyed because it is a darkness of substance. If you don't destroy it, it will go on. It will get worse. But then there's a darkness that is simply the absence of light. If there's no light, what's left is darkness. That's a different darkness. If it's the whole, if it's what's missing, fighting it only makes it worse. You're giving it too much attention. You're giving it too much credit. You're giving it more power by fighting it. I can't get over this interview. On the streets of a campus, this man went with a camera and he stopped students and he said, who is the worst person in history, the worst leader in history? He said Trump. The man said, worse than Hitler? He says, yes. He says, even though Hitler killed 6 million Jews? This college student said, he did? Is this anti-Semitism? This ignorance is shocking. So if this same guy went and painted a swastika, does he know what he's doing? Does he know what a swastika is? Does he know who Hitler was? There's a hole. There's a huge hole. And when there's an emptiness, what gathers to fill the emptiness? Nasty stuff. The lowest, easiest reaction. And that is to lash out. Look who is committing these crimes. Particularly the young people. If you stop and look, what is the diet? Today's young people, here and in Europe, what are they raised with? What do they read? They don't read. What do they learn in school? Anything that has to do with morality, with right and wrong, with holy or unholy, with good and evil? Nothing. What entertains them every day of their life? Violence and sex and violence. The games that they play on the computer, all violence. The movies, all violence. If you watch what the kids are watching, you are convinced everybody in the world has at least 3 automatic weapons. One in the car, one in the basement, and one under his pillow. What do today's young people know about life? Nothing. It's a huge hole. And it gets filled with guns and bombs, multiple murders. On every video game, it's how many people you kill. Never kill just one. When the evil, the darkness, is a result of absence of light, you don't fight it. You fill the emptiness. You bring the light. That's a safer way, because to fight it gives it too much power and too much attention. So, of course, the police have to do their job. But what is the long-term solution? How are we supposed to feel? How are we supposed to react? What should be our thinking? Our thinking has to be not the elimination of anti-Semitism, but the alternative to anti-Semitism. If the world stops hating Jews, what's going to replace it? Nothing? That's not good enough. Take a look at the Torah. Right from the beginning and through most of the Torah, what caused all the problems? What caused all the arguments? What caused all the hatred? Jealousy. What was the problem, Cain and Hevel? They had the whole world to themselves and they couldn't share it. Jealousy. What was the problem between Yitzchak and Yishmael? Jealousy. What was the problem between Yaakov and Esav? Jealousy. What was the problem between Yosef and his brothers? Anti-Semitism is jealousy. And the jealousy comes either because they feel that we have something that they don't have, or our existence makes them feel that they are empty. So what's the solution? Let's be friends? No. Why can't we love each other and get along? Not good enough. That's just a ceasefire. That's not real peace. This is the good news. So let's be a little careful before we panic. If you read the secondary stories, in every case where there was an anti-Semitic attack, the entire non-Jewish community came out in support of the Jews. That doesn't make headlines, but it's true. So the anti-Semitism of today, the darkness of today, is simply a total lack of knowledge. It's the absence of light, which is dangerous, but curable. It will get cured. But we have to do our part, not wait for miracles. What is our part? We have to be speaking to the world about right and wrong, about holiness, about godliness. We have to bring God back to the world because the world has lost touch. In Europe, God doesn't exist. When you take God out of the picture, what's going to replace him? Not good things. Never good things. So if someone were to ask you, what is the Jewish God? You have to have an answer. You have to be able to say,